Hey guys, um, it's great to be here and to be able to talk to you about my work as a wildlife photographer. And yeah, my name is Konsta Punkka, and I'm a Finnish wildlife adventure and nature photographer. And I'm specialized to capture emotional wildlife portraits. And for the next 40-ish minutes, I'm gonna show you my work from Finland, from the Nordic countries, and from all around the world. And then after the presentation, if you have any questions, you can shout them in the comments, and I'm more than happy to answer you with all the questions. And yeah, let's start. So basically, I've been photographing for the past 12 years. I'm based in Finland, so the nature is beautiful here, and we have it all around my hometown, Helsinki. And basically, what I do is I photograph all kinds of mammals around here and inside Finland and Sweden and Norway, and then in normal situations when COVID-19 is not happening, I also travel around the world. But my most known projects or photos are related to foxes, as you can see on this photo. I often spend a lot of time with the same animals and try to get some kind of connection with them and try to capture them reacting to me. And I think that's something I want to capture in the photos, to get emotion and give the animals the stage, to tell their story. In this image, for example, I was spending a week with this fox family in the Netherlands, and I knew the area where they were living, so I was able to find the paths that I wanted to wait beforehand. And that way, for example, in this situation, I was just laying on the ground without any hides and just waiting there and hoping that the fox would come to me. And finally, after 15 minutes of waiting, the fox came in front of me, and we had maybe 5 to 15 seconds of us staring each other, and I managed to capture this image. Here's a picture that I took in old Russian mining town Pyramiden in Svalbard. It's always the same thing with all animals I photograph. I tend to spend as much time as possible with the same animal. In this situation, I spent around 2 days with this particular Arctic fox, and managed to capture this photo in front of a house wall. So that way I got the black background in the image. If I can, I love to use lenses that are shorter. So for example, in this one, I photographed it with 70-200 lens, 2.8, and it's same with this fox image. So I often try to get enough close so I can react and interact with the animal, and that way capture the emotions. Here we have one more raccoon dog baby photo. It's taken in southern Finland, close to a city. So common thinking about wildlife photography is that you have to travel far and you have to go months and months in the middle of nowhere nature. But for me, I think actually the best mammal or wildlife pictures you can capture close to your home and close to the cities, because then the animals might already have some kind of, they know people, a little bit at least. So that way you already have a bit more chance to get closer and interact with them, instead of wild animal in the middle of nowhere that has never seen a human being, and that way might be very skittish. Here's one more to show you in the beginning. This is a golden eagle capture that I photographed in the Swedish Lapland. My good friend Koni has some of the best wildlife eagle heights there. So I used 2-3 days and managed to get this beautiful photo on the sunset light. Here's one example of my work. Here's a fox family that I followed in the southern Finland. They had a nest close to a hospital, so they most of the nights they played around the hospital parking a lot, and they didn't really care much about people, and that way you could get closer and observe them close by. And they often then, when there's a lot of people walking and traveling around the hospital, they let you come pretty close because they know humans and what they do. So here's a mother fox playing around with one of the fox cubs on the grass, and I was laying down maybe 10-15 meters away with my 400mm lens and just bursted photos and tried to capture the sort of playing around sequence. And I really like this image because you can, as the fox mother is looking at me straight to the camera, and you can really feel and get emotions out of the photo as well. There's a few more, but for me, the whole photography journey started in my backyard. So around 10 years ago, I got really into wildlife photography and I saw some amazing wildlife photographers around the Nordics and around the world capturing the most insane photos. And I thought myself, like, I really want to do that as well. And I want to capture amazing wildlife photos. But then on the other hand, I was also a high school student, so I didn't have the money or didn't have the time to travel somewhere far to photograph exotic animals. So then I thought that, okay, I have, what do I have here in Helsinki? What do I have in my backyard? And then I thought, hey, yeah, I have squirrels. So I started to go on my local forest and started to go there every single day to capture photos of squirrels. And at first I captured them with the long lens and did very basic documentary style photos of them. But then after a while, I started to know the animals and started to get a bit more creative with the animals. And then during that time, Instagram also came alive. And I started to post my squirrel photos there almost every day. And that way I gained my, beginning for my career. In here, I found out that the squirrels, they used to go on the bird feeder station and get some peanuts there and then walk or climb to the tree close by and then just drop down with their dropping down using their back legs and just chilling on the tree. So I started took my 14 to 24mm wide angle lens and sneaked as close as possible under it and decided to start shooting up the tree when the squirrels were there staying. And these photos were something that people hadn't seen before too many times. So it really, people started to gather around and were like, wow, this is something amazing. So my point is that if you're starting wildlife photography and you want to capture amazing animal pictures, I think it's possible to anyone. You need to just go to your local forest and spend a lot of time there to learn about the nature, learn about the animals that live close to you, and that way you can get some amazing images on all kinds of different animals. And I think it's just about your commitment and how many hours you are willing to put into the craft. And I think it definitely doesn't need to be most expensive gear, or you don't need to travel to Africa to be a wildlife photographer. You can start with squirrels if you want. After the squirrels, I think I spent around a year with them at the beginning and started to really learn how nature works and what kind of animals are there in the area. And then I think I saw a few times a fox on some of the summer nights that I spent in the nature, and really was like, okay, I think I have got my photos of squirrels now, so I need to move forward to next subject. So I started to, or my summer holiday has just started. So I decided that I would spend all the nights that I have on my summer holiday to go on the forests and try to find fox nests. So then that was what I did. I went around all around southern Finland and found this beautiful area where was one fox nest and fox family that was living close to abandoned railway tracks. So I started to follow them and spent a week with them throughout the nights, and then slept during the daytime because the harsh light. But I really started to spend time with them, and that way I got to know them, and I got some amazing, unique wildlife photos of the foxes. And that's probably what I'm saying on this as well, is that you have to know the area so you can know, and then know the animals so you can get close and unique photos. Because there's hundreds and hundreds of just documentary style wildlife photos of foxes running in the fields, or deers in the fields, or whatever. But I think if you're willing to put the hours in and the possible, to spend as much time as possible with the same animal, I think you can achieve some amazing photos. Here, for example, is one of my favorite fox photo. This was on the same fox family as these two fox cubs. This was a pathway that led into their nest. So I had followed them around for a while. The nest was here, and I could wait on my car close by, where I was able to see the nest, and first hours to observe like which paths they use most actively and where they play around and stuff. So then I found this small path, and I went there while they were in the nest. And I went there and laid down. I think I had my 50mm lens with me, and I just laid there, and this one of the fox cubs started to come closer to me, and then I managed to capture this image. Foxes are amazing animals because they are very curious by nature, and most of my fox photos are done on springtime when the fox cubs are born, and it's always there has to be a good line between that. You can use the fox cub's curiosity to get up close and get some amazing photos, but you always need to keep the distance for the safety of the animals and stuff like that. But here, for example, the fox cub came to me just curious about the shadow sounds and stuff like that. I think more you know about animals you want to take the photos of, more unique and more amazing photos you can take. Here I found out that these two fox cubs, they often played around the train tracks. So I was laying there and waiting for them when they played around, and that way I was there in time when these magical moments happen. I also found out that they are very curious about my shadow sounds. So as the future of photography is changing towards mirrorless cameras, and there's no more sound and stuff on the cameras, I sometimes prefer still to use cameras that still have the shadow sound, because that's often a way to get the animal's attention locked into you. So instead of being completely silent and completely hiding away, I often try to get the attention with my camera shutter. So I might shoot, let's say, 3 photos, and the first 2 photos are to capture the attention and emotions, and then the third photo of the burst mode is the one that actually matters. As I said earlier, I prefer to use much more shorter lenses if possible. This one is one of my favorite lenses as well. It's taken with the Nikon 50mm 1.4 lens. So you can get very beautiful shallow focal length on the image and beautiful smooth background. Here, one of the fox cups came very curiously super close to me. So I just focused on the eyes, and then that way I captured the emotions again, and it was a beautiful, beautiful moment. Here's one more picture of the this whole fox family's mother. So the fox mothers often do their own daily business and go around hunting food for the fox cubs, and then often the fox cub stay around the nest area and are curious about the world and explore a bit. But every time the mom comes around, it's always good to focus on her, because often the fox cubs straight run into the mother fox, and there might be some beautiful playing photos and stuff like that. So it's when I think, like, if you want to photograph foxes, you definitely should try it. It's amazing animals, and they are very, very, very emotionful. So you can really capture very human-like expressions and stuff like that. Here's another fox family I captured in the Helsinki city. It's maybe 2 kilometers away from my home, and there was a fox mother that was living under a house, and I really spent time again observing the place where they live, and that way, for example, in this image, I could wait the fox mother to come up to the frame, and that way capture it in this light beam. So I knew that the fox mother every evening it goes hunting on the same lakeside, or it used that path to go find food. And so I was waiting there, laying on the ground again, and after 1 hour or so waiting, the fox mother came and was beautifully ran straight into the light beam I was hoping it to go, and here's the result. It's also very rare to get any mammal photos with reflection, so that was also something very different. And here is one more photo of the fox cubs of the family that was living under the house. Yes. You can, I think there's big difference of documenting wildlife and capturing these emotional storytelling images of wildlife. Sometimes when you start doing wildlife photography, you often get very like excited and stuff like that. So you just see the fox and you don't think about the photo. You just need to get the photo of it. But after you have got the first photos of the foxes you are photographing, I think you should start to think about the background and try to think where you want to take the photo of the fox. So I often, if I have 3-4 days with the same fox family, I might take the first tight portraits of the foxes and get those emotional portraits out of the way. And after that, I think about the environment where they live at, and then try to get these beautiful different kind of landscape photos of the foxes. For example, here it was again the same fox family that I photographed in Netherlands. It was there was this beautiful hill, and I saw the fox started to go up the hill. So instead of going after the fox or going around to get the portrait of it, I started slowly walking to the side, because I saw there was beautiful stormy clouds behind the hill. So I really wanted to find a beautiful tree frame to get the fox on silhouette, in front of the clouds. So it's often very important, or the best photos of wildlife happen when you are really in the moment and you are calmed down and you think what you want to capture. Because if you just go after the animal, it never works. You have to think in advance what you want, and that way you can get something different. And I can't say enough that you should definitely try to spend as much time with the same animals as you can, because that gives you knowledge that is very valuable when trying to get the next level pictures of foxes or other animals. As I told, I photograph a lot of animals and wildlife in my home country, Finland, and in the Nordic countries. But I also have traveled quite a bit around the world, capturing wildlife in some of the most amazing countries. And one of the amazing places that I visited was Patagonia. We went there to photograph for a local Finnish broadcasting company, Yle, a series about Patagonian or Chilean puma. And I didn't have much of knowledge of the animal when we went there. But in these scenarios, you have to have local people that show you around the animals and how they behave. But after all, it's still always the same. You have to spend some time with the animals before you can capture some amazing images. So basically, we had 7 days time to capture the most amazing close-up photo of a puma. So we spent the first days driving around the national park, so a lot of guanacos, and so we tried to capture them in the landscape, like in this image, and then try to see any sights of the puma. But after the 2-3 days, first 2-3 days, we didn't see any puma, and we had no idea if we could be able to get any photos of them. But then after 2-3 days spending a lot of time with the guanacos, I learned that there's pumas, or guanacos are pumas like favorite meal. So the guanacos often hang around in top of the hills. They are guarding the bigger group in case any puma comes around. So I was following some of the guards that were on top of the mountains, and on I think it was the day before we needed to leave the country. Finally, we found a puma that was lurking around the bushes and trying to get this guanaco family as their dinner. So we found a little bush area close to the a prairie, and we had a local ranger as our guide to go off the beaten path and get to areas that normally people can't go. And then we just found out that there were 2 younger pumas sleeping in this. I think it was their nest. And with these pumas, it was a very different case, as normally you would often hide and try to avoid the animals to find you so you can get close. But with these pumas, you needed to be all the time visible, so you weren't showing any aggressive movement for the puma. We standed and walked around the bush, went down on the eye level, took few photos, and then stand up again, walked again a little bit, So the puma needed to see us all the time. So it didn't take us as a threat. And after a while of walking around the bush, I finally one of the pumas looked through the bushes, and I managed to get this photo with the 70-200mm lens, and it was like one of the most amazing feelings of my life. And then after this, the pumas just, you know, vanished and run away behind the mountain. So it was definitely amazing feeling. But that's what I'm thinking, is that you know, for wildlife photography, it always has pretty much the same rules. So you need to always respect the wildlife and always keep that in mind. You always have to try to know as much about the animal before you go into the place, and then that way try to plan the shots. But of course, when, for example, we went to Patagonia, we didn't have too much knowledge, so we needed to hire local rangers to give us the advance or the chance to photograph these beautiful animals. Here's also one of the most amazing trips of my life. I had a chance to visit Northeast Greenland with 10 scientists. I was shooting commission work for Sarai, and it's like a scientific program that they measured the air temperature change, and that way we can get the data about how climate change is happening and how it's affecting the Arctic regions. And it was amazing, unique chance to go out in the middle of nowhere with these 10 other scientists, and we left from the northern Iceland and went with this small cargo plane, and we had the fresh food with us, and then that's it. So basically, we flew straight from Northern Ireland to the Zuckerberg station in the northeast Greenland. What was amazing to see in this area was that because it was in the middle of nowhere, and there's not much of, even like Greenland tourists never really get to that area. So all the wildlife, all the nature was pure, and the wildlife didn't have any natural human, they weren't scared of us. So in the station, you could see the scientists going around, and then, Fox family living under the house might just walk past you and couldn't care less about you. So it was a beautiful place where, people and the nature were living mutual, like it was like where the animals and humans both lived their lives without scaring or caring about each other. Here you can see the station on the bottom corner. But yeah, the scientists often stay there. You can stay weeks and months, and then only access out is the cargo plane, and it takes you out if the weather is good. Otherwise, you are pretty much stuck there. But here you can see the Arctic fox baby that was living under the house. So I often photograph the scientists at work during the daytime, and then at the night time I often just stayed around and photographed and document the life of this Arctic fox family. They were playing with all the station water pumping system and stuff like that. So it was amazing. But basically, I just went to close to the house and laid on the ground with my 50mm lens or 70-200mm lens, and just waited there. And often the curious animals came to me, look at me like, what are you doing? And that way, again, using the shutter sound, I was able to capture some amazing images. Then if we come back to the wildlife in the cities, it definitely, as I said in the beginning, you don't need to travel all around the world to get the best wildlife photos. What I often do myself is that, at least in the summertime, I often switch my sleeping schedule, that I might, from my Monday to Friday, I might do like a night shift job thing, that I go out at 6 p.m. in the evening and come back home at 6 a.m. in the morning. So basically I go around my wildlife shooting areas and photograph throughout the night when we have the midnight sun and beautiful light, and as the animals are active, and then sleep during the daytime when we have the harsh light. But it can be quite surprising how much or how many wildlife there is actually living in your own city. I don't know, for example, how is it in Oslo, but like I have photographed all kinds of different animals in Helsinki and in Stockholm and everywhere. So you don't actually really need to go far. Here, for example, we had a city seal that was chilling on the ice sheet really close to the Helsinki city, and behind you can see a restaurant. So I was going through my social media feed, and then I saw a post from this restaurant that they have saw a seal. So then I just ran there and was able to capture these photos before other people came in the area. Yes, so basically, if you spend time and want to capture amazing moments of wildlife, I really suggest try out, go out for a week, go out during the nighttime and see what you can capture, because it can surprise you how much wildlife moves in the cities. So I personally, what I sometimes do, if I don't have a specific family I'm shooting or specific animals I'm shooting, I might just take my car, drive around forest roads or any kind of that roads, and if I see an animal, I stop and might check if I can find the animal, or then I use my car as a hide and try to get photos through the window. Here I had one fox family living under a car repair shop in Helsinki. I was following social media hashtag fox in Finnish kettu, and I saw some runner who had seen some fox running on the bicycle lane, and he had tagged the place where he saw the fox. So then I just did some detective work and checked where the fox might have been seen, and through that I found out this fox nesting place. So actually it's good to check out social media as well and go through hashtag fox and hashtag other animals, because sometimes you might find or get a tip about some new fox family or animal family that might be living in the city. In this photo, I knew the hole that the foxes often use. So I think it was me or my friend who had put these tires and some water on the bottom of the tire so the animals could get some drink. Then after that I basically I put my tripod close to the tires, and then I attach my camera with wide angle lens and a remote controller. So then I left the camera there, went myself 15-25 meters behind, and just waited there when the animal would come by, and then use the remote shutter to capture the photos. So there's always, like, you can also use motion detector cameras, but I personally always love to press the shutter myself and not do it all automatic, or with the motion detecting. But yeah, I use all kinds of different techniques. I use a lot of trail cameras to find the animals first, or where they move, and then through that you can use that to capture some amazing photos. This is one of my most well-known image. It's a New York raccoon. It's a raccoon photographed in the Central Park in New York City. It was 2 years ago. I had an exhibition in Washington, D.C., and after the exhibition ended, I wanted to spend a few days in New York if I could find, any wildlife. I didn't have any plans or any idea where the wildlife could be. So I spent the 2 days just walking all around the city to even, get a photo of pigeon or rat or anything like that. So after 2 days of walking, it was like my last evening. I went to the Central Park and walked around probably 3-4 hours, photographing different photos of pigeons and stuff like that. And then I went close to the puddle and went to sit on the bench and just was like, okay, well, I did my best and tried my best to capture wildlife, but didn't get anything. So then I was, drinking energy drink and, something like that, having a break there. And then suddenly I looked to the right, and this raccoon just came, standing on the fence, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe what is happening. So I quickly grabbed my 50mm lens with my Nikon camera and just sneaked closer and managed to capture this image with the skyscrapers, behind. So it was, a magical moment that I captured, and it tells that nature can surprise us as well. You can always plan your photos almost like how everything should work, but then sometimes, nature gives, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get these amazing moments, and sometimes you plan for weeks and nothing really works out. Let me check. Before the time ends, here's one more Nikon project that I worked with during this autumn. I was capturing photos of wolves and bears in the eastern Finland for the release campaign of the new Nikon Z7 II camera. Basically, when photographing bears and wolves in Finland, you often use hides where you station your cameras, often long lenses, and try to capture different moments. In this area, they use different kind of roadkill reindeers or roadkill mooses to lure the animals around in the area, and that way they keep the animals in the border zone between Finland and Russia, and then through that they try to tell more they want to show people how wolves are, and that way try to change the people's mind or hate for wolves and bears. So we spent there I think 2-3 days and captured these images with the camera. Often when photographing mammals, I use single focus mode. So I might focus on the animal and then reframe the image afterwards. But then with birds or quick animal moments, I often use the continuous focusing system or with 3D metering. But I also tried in this image, I also tried the Nikon's new animal eye tracking, and it really worked great as well. So yeah, it's all kinds of different things, but that's basically it. If you have any questions you would like to ask, it would be great great. But if not, you can find more of my work at my website or on my social media channels with the nickname Konsta Punkka or Punkka. And yeah, would love to see you there. Is Thomas there still?